Oh, a little sign of hope coming up on Monday, May 18th. Some of Quincy's basketball courts and tennis courts will be reopening with some restrictions. So the Commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources, Dave Murphy, is joining us virtually to explain what that's all about. Hey, Dave, good to see you.
Joe, good to see you too. Thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Hopefully we can do it in person again real soon. But in the meantime, this will have to suffice. And as I said, a little glimmer of hope going on in Quincy. What's happening?
So Mayor Koch has tasked his department heads with finding creative ways to make sure that we can maintain service levels in these rather unique times of the COVID pandemic. So from the park and recreational facility standpoint, we've been working very closely with the recreation department to try to develop some ways to get more people using our park facilities. Our parks have always been open. We've had to close certain components and certain uses. For example, at the outset, we closed our tot lots because the plastic and metal surfacing, there was some concerns about the virus being able to last on certain surfaces. So out of an abundance of caution, our tot lots were closed pretty early and they remain closed. Our basketball and tennis courts were next to close only because there were group activities. There were 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 games. People weren't following the social distancing guidelines, and we thought that they were becoming attractive nuisances that weren't assisting in the public health efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19. So unfortunately, because of the way they were being used, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we actually had to close both the basketball and tennis nets. So the mayor has asked us to come up with a program where we're getting more people onto the parks, and we developed what is a pretty creative program that involves the use of recreational staff to help monitor both the basketball and tennis courts. And the program really has two distinct prongs that I think are going to be a benefit to the city. The first is it provides for additional recreational opportunities. People that want to shoot around and play basketball on a one-on-one basis, or within the immediate family, can do so at the hoops we have at our parks, or they can play tennis, get some aerobic exercise, and play a game that they enjoy. Get some fresh air, get some exercise. A lot of people have been cooped up in the house. We see our parks as a very important part, not just physical health, but mental health. People getting outdoors, people exercising, people having a good time. The second part of this program, which I think is also very helpful to the city, is it's going to take about 100 young people, mostly high school and college-age children, who are otherwise locked in their house, and we're going to put them to work at a time when the unemployment rate is at a very high level. It's going to create employment opportunities for our young people, all of whom are Quincy residents. The recreation department's unique in that 100% of the employees are all 02169, 02170, 02171 residents. So we think that, we would like things to be back to normal. This isn't ideal for anybody's situation. I can't wait to look out my window and see a baseball game at Adams Field, or go over to the stadium for a football game, soccer game, lacrosse, what have you. But in the meantime, we got to make the most of the situation that we have. And I think that with the help of Michelle Hanley, who's the Director of Recreation, and her folks, with support from the mayor and his staff, we've created a program, I think, that will provide some additional opportunities for our residents and help some of our young people in the meantime.
So who are these new workers, Dave? Are these the kids that normally would be working over the summer? You're bringing them in early, or how are you finding your staff?
Yeah, we have trained staff that Recreation has used in the past. Predominantly, they were playground leaders in past years, people that we have trained, that we know, that we can trust, that will be playing the role of a ranger, if you will. I hope people do not mistake this for the Recreation Summertime Program. That's not what this is. So if you have young kids that you used to dropping off at the neighborhood playground to be supervised, that's not this program just yet. We're waiting for additional guidance from the governor to figure out what the recreation programs look like this summer. This is a very different and specific program as it relates to the oversight of the basketball and tennis courts. But the employees who would otherwise be working Cleaner Greener, Senior Olympics, and some of the other programs in the spring that the Recreation Department offers, we're basically taking those employees and putting them to work in a park ranger capacity.
Okay. And I know there are, as I mentioned, some restrictions that go with this. So maybe if you could explain how that works.
Sure. At all times, we're anticipating and we're expecting people to maintain the social distancing guideline that's been issued both by the federal government and the governor's office. The basketball courts will be limited to one person per hoop. If there's an immediate family where a mother or father has a son or a daughter and they want to shoot around hoop and they're a young child and they need some help, of course, we're going to show some discretion, and that's perfectly fine. we're trying to do everything within reason. These are pretty crazy times we live in, so nobody is looking to be obscene in how we're enforcing these rules. But we want to make sure that we adhere to the guidelines. This isn't a lifting of restrictions. This is basically managing the restrictions as they exist today in the best way that we possibly can. So we really need help from people. We need people to be reasonable. We need people to work with us and to cooperate. We're all in this together. And we're expecting folks that come out and shoot hoops to do so one at a time. If you can go up the Mount, up at Fennel Street, and rent the full hoops with 3 of your friends, and you can play a game of horse. So there are creative ways that people can utilize these facilities in a manner that's not just one person shooting free throws, which probably sounds boring to a lot of people, but it's better than what we have today. So we're trying to make some incremental improvements. Tennis will be relegated to singles play to make sure we don't have 4 people on the court. We think that if people bring their own tennis balls and play singles tennis, that's going to restrict the likelihood of any disease spread. The other thing that we're doing, Joe, is we're actually renting portable hand washing units, basically sinks, if you will. Much like you see porta-johns at certain facilities, they have similar portable sinks that have water tanks, both for clean and gray water that people can use soap and water and wash their hands both before and after they play if they'd like. So, we're trying to take all the steps that we can to balance the reasonability of using the parks with the world we live in, the social distancing guidelines. But we're asking for cooperation from the residents as well.
Sure. And as I understand it, you'll have to kind of reserve time to use the facilities. Is that right?
That's possible, right? So if there are facilities that are in great demand, we have a limited amount of tennis courts in town, let's say. So we anticipate that on a weekend afternoon, there may be a demand for tennis. So you can sign up for a 1-hour block. It's not required, but if you show up to a basketball court or a tennis court and somebody's on that court and they show up for the 9:30 spot, you can sign up for the 10:30 to 11:30 spot, depending on what the line looks like. So that all comes down to demand. It's not required that you register. If the courts are open, you're certainly welcome to walk up and use it. Oh, okay. We just want to make sure that the courts don't get monopolized and that people have equal opportunity to use the courts. So the registration component is really going to be based on demand.
Oh, okay. And that'll happen right on site, right? They don't have to call your office ahead of time?
Correct. Yeah, the folks that the recreation staff will be on site will have their own clipboard. They'll do all the writing. They'll do all the schedule keeping. And that's just to make sure that if we have folks that if there's a strong demand for this, they can plan it out so one person can't spend 4 hours at a rim or 4 hours on a tennis court and monopolize it, and make sure we provide opportunities to everybody that wants to play.
Sure. So you'll have staff there. I know the hours are 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. There'll be a staff member there that whole 12-hour period?
Correct. We're going to go 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Multiple staff members will have some shifts during the course of the day. No one's going to be working 12 hours a day.
Right. Yeah.
At 22 different locations around the city. But we'll be there 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, just to make sure that we can open them up, but do so in a safe manner.
Wow, it's a great opportunity. Any idea about how long this particular procedure will have to last, Dave?
1 day is too long for me, Joe. I'm dying to get back out there, and obviously we have to do so in a manner that's consistent with the guidance that we get from the experts and the scientists. So we're going to do this only as long as we have to. This isn't a program that anybody relishes putting in place. We don't want to have to tell people what to do, how to do it, when to do it. We think that once the governor provides us some additional guidance next week and beyond, we can adapt to that. We look forward to the days that we don't have to do this, that we can run our typical summer playground programs, some of our summer clinic programs. That's where I'm hoping that we're at in July and August. But again, those decisions are going to be made by the governor, scientists, the federal government, et cetera. And we'll adapt and try to be as creative as we possibly can to provide services in these very unique times.
So 22 facilities, is that most of them? How many are there in the city?
That's the large majority that have both basketball and tennis courts. We tried to make sure that we had a geographic representation of every neighborhood in Quincy. I can certainly run down the locations if you'd like, but these are the folks that have either basketball or tennis facilities, and we spread them out to make sure that every neighborhood has an opportunity to use their neighborhood park.
Might be easier to say which ones are not going to be part of this.
I talk real fast. I'll get through them real quick. Okay. The Russell Park tennis courts will be open. Our track at Faxon is always open. Fennel Street basketball courts, the Mount Bishop Field, Montclair School, Broad Meadow School, tennis and basketball courts, Forbes Hill Field, Beechwood Knolls School, Wendell Moses, Squantum Park, Massfield School, the old Massfield School, LeBrec, Snug Harbor, O'Rourke, Faxon Park, the basketball court at the corner of Smith and Quarry Street, the basketball court at the Berners-County School, the Full River Field, Perkins Field at Marymount School, the Flynn Playground, Marshall School, the basketball court there, the basketball court at Bradford Park, and basketball court at Kavanaugh Field, the basketball court at Walson School, and the Southwest Middle School facility there as well too. So we try to create a very broad geographic representation to make sure that there are facilities that people can easily walk to in their neighborhood. Make sure that we can manage them at the same time. So we're doing the very best we can. We're going to tweak this as we go along to see what improvements. This is new to everybody.
Right.
And certainly, again, want to reiterate that we're looking for the public's cooperation in doing this in a reasonable manner so that we can all enjoy the great park facilities we have here in Quincy. You know, the mayor and the city council just invested more than $38 million in our park system through a very aggressive capital improvement plan. We're almost done with the Kincaid project. One piece of this, Joe, that I should mention is that the city's first dog park up of Quarry Street is nearing completion. Once that is in June, we're going to create a management plan for that facility as well. We'd like to have that open, but obviously we're going to have to do that in a managed way so that we allow so many attendees, participants at a time. But I would anticipate that if these restrictions continue into June, you'll see some notice about the dog park opening with similar types of oversight and restrictions, but being open for the public to use.
Super. I look forward to that for sure. What facilities will not be open yet, Dave? What's still going to have to be closed?
So our tot lots, our children's playgrounds are going to remain closed. We still don't have enough information about the potential spread as it relates to the surfaces there. We're looking for some additional guidance. We're working very closely with our public health director, Ruth Jones, who's been fantastic through this whole ordeal, looking for some guidance from her. Obviously, it's a discussion going through the National Park and Rec Association, which we are a member, and the Massachusetts Park and Rec Association. A lot of the topical issues as it relates to COVID, these are ongoing discussions that Michelle has and that I have with some of our colleagues in this business. So the tot lots will remain closed. We do not want to see any type of organized games or activities, unfortunately, quite yet, flag football or 5-on-5 basketball or anything along those lines. But, we do encourage people to go out and use our park system. I mean, I think now more than ever, they're going to play a very important role, whether it's go for a jog, walk, ride your bike. Even in some of the cemeteries, Mount Walton Cemetery has become a very popular location for exercise, as long as it's used respectfully. So we strongly encourage people to use the parks. Just work with us, work with the guidelines, and let's all work together on it.
Sure. I know that there was kind of a very informal cleaner and greener, if you will, not too long ago, especially in Ward 1. So what's kind of the status of the beaches right now?
So the beaches have been cleaned of the winter debris. The city has a beach rake, which we intend to keep very active this spring and summer. Our beaches aren't closed. Our beaches have always been open. If somebody wants to go down and read a book, catch some sun, relax, and just chill out by the ocean, they're certainly welcome to do that. Again, it all comes down to human behavior. Just use them wisely, maintain the appropriate social distancing, and just follow the guidelines and enjoy it. I mean, we live in a beautiful city with beautiful natural resources, and I strongly encourage people to take advantage of them.
Yeah, clean up after yourselves, please. I know that's been stressed before in terms of debris. I know that you've got the barrels out and they're being maintained, so there's really no excuse not to.
Yeah, we've left the barrels out the whole time. I think the state made a decision, their park system, to take their barrels in and go to a carry.
Yeah.
And that's been met with some mixed results, especially as it relates to the dog walking population. But the city park system, our barrels are out there. Our crews are picking up trash on a daily basis. But to your point, we have the barrels out there. Please use them.
When folks are using the courts, Dave, the basketball and the tennis courts, now are face coverings going to be required?
No, not if they're participating in the social distancing guidelines. If you're taking any type of aerobic exercise, playing tennis, etc., you're not going to be asked to wear a mask the entire time. We ask that you wear one in and wear one out, so as you walk by folks that are playing, etc. But while you're out there shooting in a hoop by yourself, as long as you're maintaining that 6 feet and that appropriate social distancing, we don't expect you to work out and wear a mask at the same time.
Okay. And did you have to do anything special to get the facilities ready, or were they pretty much good to go?
Well, typically in the springtime, we go through and replace a lot of the basketball nets that have been worn and torn. We had a very unseasonably warm winter, so the courts were used year-round this year. So we had a lot more replacement than we anticipated. We have to go through and take all the zip ties and the bags that we put on the nets over the course of the last couple of months to make sure they're available. We have crews coming in early Monday morning to make sure that the courts are all prepped and ready to go. We've kept them clean the entire time. We're going to have specific signage that highlights some of the key rules to make sure that the rec staff can simply point to the sign in case people don't understand what the rules are. So we'll be ready to go Monday. Monday looks a little iffy weather-wise, so I know that we're going to have a lot of folks chomping at the bit to play tennis in the pouring rain. But they'll have that opportunity. And like I said, going forward until we can further relax some of the restrictions, our facility is going to be open.
Okay. And I'm assuming that all this information is available on the city website. I know quincyma.gov. And has it been translated to other languages for folks to understand? Do you know?
I believe it has. I know most of what we put out on the city website does have translation capabilities. Yep. And certainly we will have our rules in multiple languages for folks if there's any language barriers out at the park so that people can convey what our expectations are. Okay,
great. Appreciate your time. Anything else that you think we should let folks know about right now?
Just hang in there and work with us. We're trying to do everything we can to service the public. Like I said, I can't wait not to have conversations about COVID-19 and see baseball games and football games and everything else. But in the meantime, let's all work together. If you have any questions, you can call or email us here at the Park Department. Our phone number is 617-376-1251. And just if you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. But in the meantime, work with us, work together, and we'll get through it.
Great. Appreciate your time again, Dave. Have a great weekend, and be well to you, your staff, and your family.
Likewise, Joe. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.